Hi there, everybody. This is KZ, and I thought I would do a video instead of like a big stream since it's very late at night. But I wanted to talk about the nominees for the Game Awards since they got released. I check out this stream every year both to see who wins and see the big reveals. But I thought a video ahead of time to discuss and maybe see who I would think would win and who I would think deserves to win in their proper categories was in order. Thought it'd be fun. So here we are. Let's start getting into it here. One thing for reference as we start going in, a lot of people seem to think that Jeff Keighley, the host, is the one that decides what gets nominated here. That is the thoughts of people with nothing in their head. How it works essentially is they get dozens upon dozens of outlets to specifically pick games based on genre or whatever the category is. And after they collect that, they're able to go with the most popular 6, and those become the nominees. Then they do another wave of actually voting, and also count the audience votes, which is what we're going to do, though they account for a lot less, which makes sense. That's how any awards thing goes. There are a lot of people that will loudly tell you, I don't care about awards, and that means that they don't have to engage with the conversation if they don't care. They announce that they don't care, it means they do. They do this every year because they just want attention. Let's check these categories. First up is this. If you follow me on Twitter hours beforehand, I posted every single one of these. I quoted it and knocked it out. I went, it's gonna be Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Spider-Man 2, RE4, Mario Wonder, and Tears of the Kingdom, and then I went to sleep, and then I woke up and laughed at how I knocked it out of the park. Overall, this list seems tight as someone who picked all of these. Would this be my 6 that I would nominate personally for me? No, of course not. I would put many different games on here. But this seems right. In terms of games that took over the conversation, were of such a high quality, like, it makes sense to me. The setup that we have here. Alan Wake 2, I heard, is one of the best survival horror games. It goes insane with this mix of like live action footage blending in with some really genuinely terrifying horror, where people that I know that like horror games are actually going, this is screwing me up a little bit. So that's really exciting. Baldur's Gate 3 is probably going to win Game of the Year. I think it has it locked. I feel like it's almost a formality. That's how big that game has like taken over the conversation everywhere. Reviewing really well. Just when we think of certain games define years, and I feel like that on its own has really like defined this year. I haven't even played that much of it. I played most of Act 1, but then fell off because it was on PC, and some other games that I was highly anticipating got in the way, and streaming and other stuff like that. But I do need to get back to it. Marvel Spider-Man 2, fantastic. I know some people are a bit more lukewarm on it than others, but one of the highest reviewed games, and it's near the top. Right now, in my brain, I'm going to be clicking this button in a couple of minutes. That being said, I don't know if it's my game of the year yet. I need to do this thing where I go back to the games I played much earlier in the year and replay them to really cement it, but how I feel now is it's very close to the top, at the very least top 3. Resident Evil 4 makes a lot of sense. Fantastic remake. And I would not begrudge anyone picking this. That game's fantastic. I played it maybe 5 or 6 times in a row at launch, just loving it. Mario Wonder makes a lot of sense here. Really stellar 2D platformer. And feels like a return to form to the 2D Mario series for the first time in over 2 decades. I feel like it is stagnated in some form. The best one of these that felt fresh at the time was New Super Mario Bros. On DS, but even then I'd argue it's like trying to be Mario Bros. Again. It felt like it didn't have a lot of as many interesting ideas. So it was kind of the New Super Mario Bros. Series that kind of would stagnate and be like, hey, it's 2D Mario, or Mario Maker, where it's you make your own. But this felt like they had a lot of really cool ideas, gimmicks, and it felt inventive the way Yoshi's Island was for me. So I can see why this went up for GOTY this year. And Tears of the Kingdom, it was going to be locked in here anyway, unless it was actually bad. There were technical achievements that some people didn't even think was possible with some of the stuff they did in the systems in that game. I don't think it's going to win because of Baldur's Gate 3 is here. And I guess if this game wasn't here, it probably had the highest chance of winning overall. Though I can see it got its flowers in 2017 when the original Breath of the Wild came out. And I can see a lot of people going, we know it's amazing, but we need to give it to something that is a little bit more fresh, if that makes any sense here. But whatever, Tears of the Kingdom's fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed it, even if I have a couple of minor quibbles with it at the end of the day. But if we can move off Game of the Year, move to some of the more interesting categories, since this one feels like it's kind of locked up, I'm going to cast my vote personally for Spider-Man 2. If you sat me down and said, which of these would you be happiest to play front to back again, I would say that for me, personally. Which I did. I played through the game on stream, and we 100%ed it. Then I played it on the highest difficulty that you unlock, Ultimate, and played it front to back. I did not do any accessibility to make the game easier beyond just setting up the button that goes, hit the heal button when I'm at 30%. And in case you're wondering, on the hardest difficulty, that almost barely matters sometimes, because they'll, like, hit you and deal 50%. So, there are many times where you're just gonna drop. Just play well. Anyway, we're gonna go ahead and cast our vote there. Man, this thing lags like hell, man. Next category. Let's see what we have on tap. I did not look at any of the other ones. Best Game Direction, awarded for outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design. All right, so if we're looking at like a creative vision style thing, what would I pick? Well, let's see. Baldur's Gate 3, from what I played, just seems like really solid at just designing a Western CRPG, a computer RPG. Choices, things that matter, that type of thing. Spider-Man 2, in terms of creative vision and design, like the weaving of both characters and how effortlessly it jumps between them for narrative stuff. Tone, having other playable characters in the mix, like, you know, the Mary Jane style stuff. I will not be doing heavy spoilers on any of these games. I will at least try, you know. I'll try not like drift into them in case people are watching this and are trying to avoid stuff, but I feel like that was generally pretty good, though I feel like Miles' stuff could have been a bit tighter. Mario Wonder, also pretty damn good game direction. Constantly coming up with new ideas for its gameplay, I think was pretty good. Tears of the Kingdom has a lot of boundless freedom here, though there are some problems in the way that if you go out and try to explore or discover some of the game's big dungeons, because they wanted to both give you freedom but also kind of guide you to these moments, I guess in reaction to how Breath of the Wild had a bit less guided, more narrative stuff in it. It made it so that you'll like get to dungeons that you just can't access because you don't have the various things you need, the partners and whatnot. So I feel like there's some problems there, I would say, with the game direction, where at times it's fighting with itself a little bit. And Alan Wake 2 seems to, I'm gonna be honest, I've watched a couple of streams of this, and I feel like if you're picking best game direction and vision, I would probably lock this in. I haven't even played it, and I feel like I would lock this in. You're gonna see me do this a lot, where if I don't feel super strongly on the direction of a game, I will give it to one that I've, based on zeitgeist and what I've seen personally, I will go for. But I'm going to try and keep it to a minimum, as I'm someone who kind of likes to have opinions based on things that I've felt out myself. But since I don't feel strongly on that one, I'll go for it. I will go for it. Next, Best Narrative. We have Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty, Final Fantasy 16, and Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Now, for one of these, where it's narrative, I will absolutely not vote for a game that I do not know the story of, because that is insane. That is maybe a step too far. That means we have eliminated 3 of these games. I have only played most of Act 1 of Baldur's Gate 3, so I cannot comment on where that goes. That leaves Final Fantasy 16 and Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Overall, I thoroughly enjoyed Marvel's Spider-Man 2's story. I really enjoyed how it blended together many of its themes, just like themes of balance, themes of can characters become better, can they be reformed, certain struggles the characters are going through. I think that handled it pretty well. Final Fantasy 16 was like delivering a story on like free will and some other various. Okay, this is a bit difficult. As time has gone on, I've warmed or cooled, I guess, on Final Fantasy 16. I feel like a lot of aspects of its story just did not work for me personally. I found that a lot of people that like the indomitable human spirit above all else, and like Clive's character, would really resonate with it and some of his actions, but for me it just didn't really hit well because a lot of other the way a lot of other things were handled in that game, I just feel like were very clunky. And I have a lot of issues with that game overall, so in terms of narrative, if it's down to two options for me, one I think did not overall work for me in the end, and I cooled on after I had finished it and got through the shock and the emotion of it. And this one has still stuck with me, so I'm going to have to vote for Spider-Man 2 on this one. Sorry to FF16, I'm going to try my best to not come off as a bully for it, but I don't know what else 16 got nominated for. However, when we get to a certain category, and when I see it on there, I'm going to have words. Next category. Best Art Direction for outstanding creative and or technical achievement in artistic design and animation. We have Alan Wake 2, Hi-Fi Rush, Lies of P, Mario Wonder, and Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. So, Alan Wake 2 looks really good. But I can't say I've looked at a lot of its art direction as I haven't experienced it, so we will ignore it. Hi-Fi Rush. Outstanding artistic design and animation. We're gonna get back to it in a minute. You probably know I'm going to vote for it. Lies of P. Fantastic art. I know a lot of people want to be reductive. Maybe they haven't played it or going, it's just Bloodborne or Souls and stuff. The art of the puppets in that look great. Some of the more unique areas in it. I really liked Lies of P to a large degree, where I feel like it outpaces several of FromSoft's efforts, which is kind of what my hope is whenever I see a Souls-like coming from another studio, is I want to see this subgenre improve and take and do twists on ideas that are, better ideas than what FromSoft does. Maybe ease up on certain aspects, maybe be a bit, try to push story a bit more, push music more to the forefront, and characters. And I feel like that game did that. And in terms of art direction, which is what we're actually talking about, but I don't know how many things Lies of P got, so I'm trying to gas it up a little bit in conversation. I think it's really great. And also all the patches they're doing to it is fixing my issues with its gameplay and balance in a way that I kind of want to do a playthrough of it when the November patch drops. Mario Wonder, gorgeous art and animation and stuff. Mario was very stagnant in the new Super Mario Bros. Games. You probably have seen posts around where they do a comparison shot of like Mario's jump in New Super Mario Bros. Wii U and Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and there's just so much soul, life, and just fun to the animations. Like when he's ducking, he's just pulling his hat over him like it's Mario World, and there's so much inventive animation to the Wonder flowers here. Honestly, if you gave me the choice, this would probably be my number 2 in terms of animation and art direction. Tears of the Kingdom, though, no slouch. Gorgeous looking game with some really cool new stuff, but a lot of it is Breath of the Wild's look. I'm not going to be that person that says it's just a DLC or an expansion, because I feel like games are art, and I don't want to be super reductive a lot of the time. But that being said, there wasn't a lot new that wowed me that would make me go, this outpaces something that's entirely new. Or like a bit of a newer achievement, you know. Hi-Fi Rush gets my vote. Mainly because the art looks fantastic. The transitions to a traditionally and actually animated cutscene into the general game style is seamless. If you've seen the Roquefort fight in that game, is maybe one of the most insane animation flexes I've ever seen in my life. It is gorgeous. We just did a replay of it on stream recently. I highly recommend people check it out if they didn't. It's a wonderful time. One of the best games of the year. If this does not win Best Art Direction, this is one of the ones where I'm like, it needs this and a couple of other ones that I imagine it got nominated for. Really fantastic. I was hoping it might be able to grab a nomination, but I figured that it was a bit of a smaller game, and it came out in January, and I feel like a lot of good games just get screwed over by that. So, my vote, Best Art Direction, Hi-Fi Rush. Best Score and Music for Outstanding Music, inclusive of score, original song, and or licensed soundtrack. So it puts together all of it together. And our nominations are Alan Wake 2 for composer Petri Alanko, Baldur's Gate 3 for composer Borislav Slavov. Excuse me if I mess those up. Final Fantasy 16 from composer Masayoshi Soken. Hi-Fi Rush audio director Shuichi Kobori. And The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, composed by the Nintendo sound team. It's really funny that there's like no name on the Nintendo one. First off, no. First up on Zelda, no. Not because of the sound team thing, but there is sparse music in both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. I am not one of those that will say these games have no music, because I feel like that's being hyperbolic and stupid. Like, the theme that plays for the final boss, like, not the final sequence, but, like, the final boss where it's, like, you're really doing execution on, like, fighting it. Incredible. Insane. Also, the final sequence is also incredible, music-wise. And a lot of the new bosses of the dungeons and the dungeon themes and other stuff, really good, but it's just a bit too sparse for me. I was kind of thinking about how Elden Ring has a bit more music going on. Like, you're in, like, fields and stuff, and the music there is used pretty well. I hope the next Zelda game pushes the music a bit more, because it's Zelda. They have some stuff going on, man. So no on that one. I haven't played this. I don't know what the music in Alan Wake 2 is. I played a little bit of Baldur's Gate 3, as I said. I don't remember any of the music to it. Apologies on that. Which leaves us with a choice here. So, for reference, let's talk about Final Fantasy 16 first. I love Masayoshi Soken. His stuff on FF14 is fantastic. Some of my favorite tracks of all time, and I actually like a lot of his stuff here quite a bit. The themes of Bahamut, of Titan Lost. Oh! I really like Find Your Flame. I like the final version of the last boss. Really, anything, whenever you get past the first phase of every key major boss fight in the game, and then Soken gets to cut loose, I love those tracks quite a bit. I feel like the people higher up in the chain for development for this game really hindered him and stopped him from being able to show everyone that he's one of the greatest composers that's working currently. And I think that's very unfortunate. He had a chance to... This was like a moment where a lot of people involved with 14 could like show a lot of what they could do. And I felt like most important was Masayoshi Soken. And a lot of his soundtrack is very boring. It is very generic, in my opinion, where it's way too restrained and grounded in a way that I feel like he is at his best when he's just going out and just hitting it. And you can feel pieces of that shoot out in the more climactic parts of the game, and that's why they end up being way more memorable. That also, I find his normal battle themes in the game to be pretty weak. Like, I don't like 16 Bells, for example, is like his default battle theme. I think it's one of the weaker ones in general. Especially coming off of... It's also not fair. This is coming off Final Fantasy 15, where Yoko Shimomura was on tap for a lot of the main battle themes, and is my favorite composer of all time. So, a bit rough. But FF16's OST could have been so much better. And I feel like they held him back. I hope in the DLC they just let him cut loose and go, a lot less people buy DLC than the main game. Maybe we can chill out a little bit and just go hard. But that means that Hi-Fi Rush has got to be my favorite here. Audio director is important because the music is outstanding. The licensed tracks are great, but I just played in streamer mode, and they kind of made alternate versions of licensed tracks. They're like, for the streamer mode, let's just make something that sounds like Nine Inch Nails, so that you're basically still getting it and it still works. Also, generally, the audio design is incredible. The way everything moves to the beat and everything just feels perfect for where they're going with it. If this didn't have a single licensed track, I would still click this button here because all the songs are still great. Like, I didn't feel like I was missing out, or that the concept was missed. Think about stuff like Spider-Man 2 came out, and if you had streamer mode on, if there was a song playing at that point, there is no song. And I feel like that kind of stuff is really sad. If you're going to use a licensed song, and you're going to have a streamer mode, adapt. Compose something similar to it if you're going to have the licensed song. Because you kind of need that. Like, I can't imagine the experience of someone playing Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy that released a couple of years ago with streamer mode on. It's the reason I didn't stream it. It's because I'm like, the music is a part of the DNA, and I want to experience that. So, but yeah. High marks on Hi-Fi Rush. Really love that soundtrack. I've been listening to some tracks, actually, for the past couple days, ever since I finished the replay of it. So we're going to go ahead and give it high marks. Let's move into the next category. Some of these I'm going to have more to talk about. Best audio design, recognizing the best in in-game audio and sound design. Alan Wake 2, Dead Space, Hi-Fi Rush, Marvel Spider-Man 2, and Resident Evil 4. Alan Wake 2 is out for me because I do not know the audio design, but given the high praise on that game, I imagine it's scary. Dead Space. Pretty good. People know I'm no fan of Dead Space, I guess, or I'm not super fond of it. I played through all of the games, including, like, the 3 DLC, and I played the remake. The remake, I think, is the best Dead Space. It takes the scary tone of the original, removes a lot of the annoying gameplay parts that I feel like came from the fact that that was their first try, and it was, like, a game from, like, early 360. Like, the anti-grab stuff is way less disorienting now. The sound design of, like, hitting the monsters, I forget what they're called. Something, like, half of the names in my head, but so I'm just gonna move on from that. But the sound design of, like, shooting things and the monsters lurking around. There's some really good sound design there. Similarly, RE4 feels really great with all the good sound design. Like, the moaning and the screaming and just the gooey noises that come out of just tentacles and plagas coming out of you. The evil priest just moaning glory to Las Plagas. And the, you know, also the fantastic music. I almost would have put RE4 in music, because some of the climactic tracks in that, really good. Hi-Fi Rush is getting the way, you know it's already gonna happen. So, but Marvel Spider-Man 2, really good audio design for, like, the tentacles, the symbiote stuff, just really big explosions and stuff like that. It's that immersive audio that you would expect from a game that is one of the high marks of very expensive, massive AAA masterpiece style, like, super games, you know? It's the thing you kind of expect here. Audio design had to live and die by a game that is a rhythm action game like Hi-Fi Rush. It's the type of thing where it's like you're hitting on the beat of everything, and the fact that all the animations are synced to that, so it's like doors are opening to the beat of the song, intricate little robots are, like, every single part of them is starting to, like, open up to the beat of the song. It's just really good audio design, and it's part of the reasons that game is so good, so we're gonna go ahead and give it to it. And here's hoping I don't have to vote for Hi-Fi Rush again. In our next category, Best Performance, awarded to an individual for voiceover acting, motion, and/or performance capture. We have Ben Starr, Final Fantasy XVI, Cameron Monaghan from Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Idris Elba for Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty, because we have to have at least one guy that's not in games regularly in these. This happens all the time. Melanie LeBird from Alan Wake 2, Neil Newbon from Baldur's Gate 3, and Yuri Lowenthal for Marvel Spider-Man 2. First of all, I gotta say, it feels great to see Yuri Lowenthal, like, in a best performance thing, as someone who's been a fan of his work for, most of my life. Really cool. I'm gonna go ahead and look up Neil, because I did play a decent amount of that game, or some level of, don't say a decent amount when you didn't get out of Act 2. I need to know whether or not that's Asterion or not. Yes, it is. Okay. I was like, which VA is this? It is this Asterion, which is one of the main party members. All right. Let's see. Going through it. Ben Starr, absolutely fantastic. Even if I feel like the story falters in multiple areas, the reason that I like it the way I do is because he is delivering such an amazing, powerful performance in every inch. He is just delivering it as Clive Rossfield. Fantastic. Really enjoyed it. Whether it's just the emotional moments of the early game to general cutscene moments, or times where he really just gets to go. The moments near I would say the Bahamut segment of the game, he gets a moment to just really lay in, and it gave me chills to that degree. I wish other parts of the game would like enhance and like come up to his level, but I cannot discount what he put together there. Cameron Monaghan is fantastic in Jedi Survivor. It is one of my favorite games of the year. I can't say that I was super into his plight in the first game, and I feel like this middle chapter of him deciding, is this all worth it? Can he like keep going? And his struggles with the loss he experiences, with being beaten down by everything going on in the game's story. I think he delivered like a very good performance that made me go, yes, I like him as a protagonist. I care about his character, and I want to see where it goes in the third game that they're gonna make. Idris Elba, I did not play that, but I've heard people say it's good. There's that. Didn't play this either, so we can move on from there. Asterion's voice here is very funny. Unfortunate. I think he does a very fantastic job. There's also really good clips I've seen of other things that other moments in the game. I ultimately did not finish this game, so I will abstain. That said, his character's ruined forever because someone described him as sounding like Stewie Griffin from Family Guy. Which, damn it. Yuri Lowenthal from Spider-Man 2 is incredible. It might be his greatest performance I've ever heard from him. The earnestness and the kindness, the sarcastic, quippy nature, but the absolute despair, horrified pain that he feels in parts of this game, he will scream in ways that I genuinely felt uncomfortable. And he brings a nuance to his performance that's really good. I know people don't like the way his model looks now post the first game. But I grew to enjoy it to a decent degree. And I think his performance was just fucking stellar. But if I was to say my favorite performance here, I said at the top, it is Ben Starr. I think he had the best performance overall. Even if I feel like the game fails him in some ways, for me personally. Don't worry, I still like the game. I just, I'm not hot on it. I'm not like it's peak fiction, but I'm like, it's good. It's good. But he's the best part of that game, bar none. I feel like he did a fantastic job, and I hope he gets work in the way other people do. Like I want to see him in more stuff, and I hope that he gets an opportunity to really flex. I think this is this is the first time I've ever heard him in anything. I don't know what else he does, but I hope he gets more. Go to the next category. What do we got? Innovation and accessibility, recognizing software and or hardware that is pushing the medium forward by adding features, technology, and content to help games be played and enjoyed by an even wider audience. I know a lot of people get mad when accessibility comes in. A lot of people also kind of group it in with quality of life and other stuff, but ultimately, when I think about this, I think about how does it let people that are challenged in various ways or are limited in certain ways enjoy things. Diablo 4, don't know what they do there. Same with Forza Motorsport. Hi-Fi Rush, I think, does a pretty good job. It adds various features like a bar on the bottom to help you stay in beat a little bit more. I feel like the game also helps by not being super challenging, but I'm not as well versed into how big that does for in an accessibility standpoint. Same with MK1, so I'm a little bit less equipped in that way, but I do know there's like some various fighting game things that they do to try and improve on that. Spider-Man's top shelf, as is most Sony games. They add numerous upon numerous features. You're just drowning in a list down there. Things changing entire character models to solid colors, making it so you don't have to rapidly tap things for quick time events and do it like a hold. There's a lot of things made. You can even lower the game's speed down to, I think it was like 30%. Anything to make it so that you can experience the game and enjoy it, and it's not a problem. And in the end, it's just a choice, so that when people get mad that it exists in there, you control the buttons you press. Maybe calm down a bit, you know. And then there's Street Fighter 6, and Street Fighter 6 will be getting my vote. The amount of work they put into accessibility for Street Fighter 6, I think, is so commendable and needs to be highlighted. Not only do they have all of the various visual and stuff like that to make it easier, they've added more modes to be able to play it easier, whether it's the modern controls or for the local only type of thing, where you can just press buttons and things happen. That's not even the big part that I would highlight. It's the sound cues. They've added a special tone that beeps based on the proximity you are from another character, and various things like that. It highlights sounds based on like what type of hit you took or what's going on. They're trying to make it so that if you're heavily visually impaired, you can still like beat me in a first to 10. And it's really impressive stuff. Street Fighter 6 really leveled up in numerous ways, to the point where I would argue that if we're looking at like, if we're discounting the fact that remakes should make way for original games, I think Resident Evil 4 should have been removed from the Game of the Year contention, and Street Fighter 6 should have been in its place. That's where I'm sitting on it, where it made major pushes in making a good fighting game, giving it a lot of content and single-player things to do, having a good online infrastructure, very good accessibility. It has music. I would not be contending for it being soundtrack of the year, I will say that. But I like a lot of songs in it. But we're going to go ahead and give this our innovation in accessibility, because I feel like it made some strides. Spider-Man 2 has some really great stuff in it, but it feels almost like par for the course for what PlayStation has done, in a way. Not to discount it. Games for Impact, for a thought-provoking game with a pro-social meaning or message. Someone starts slamming their desk going, "The woke category!" I unfortunately, I'm going to just go ahead and hit next on this one. But here we have A Space for the Unbound from Mojiken Studio, Doge Productions Chorus. Chance of Sonar from Run Disc and Focus Entertainment. Goodbye Volcano High from Co-op. Chaya from Awaseb and Kepler Interactive. I'm guessing on these names, I apologize. Terra Nil from Free Lives and Devolver Digital and Netflix. And Venba from Psy Games. I have not played a single one of these games, and I laughed at Goodbye Volcano High because of just that game has just always been really funny. I will not vote for these because I have no reference on any of these at all. Next up, Best Ongoing, awarded to a game for outstanding development of ongoing content that evolves the player experience over time. Apex Legends, Cyberpunk 2077, Final Fantasy XIV, Fortnite, and Genshin Impact. This is basically voting for games you played that had updates that you thought were good. But also, when thinking upon the bounds of taking a game and improving upon it, and making it a better experience and getting people talking about it and stuff like that. This may seem petty, honestly. I don't like that this is here. I know that it should work. I know that it should be on here because it did improve the game by making updates and that. And I don't want to be like one of those people that's like fucking, you should never forgive a developer for selling you a woefully, what feels like an unfinished, broken product, which they did to the degree that an entire console said, you can't sell this on our platform for over a year, and mass refunds to anyone who opted in for it. I don't think it deserves that level of the Final Fantasy XIV-ification here. They fixed this game to help repair their reputation and push out a good expansion. I would not vote for this for best ongoing, and I will probably be adamant when it probably wins this category. Apex, I don't play it, but so I can't really say. I don't even know the temperature of how that game is doing. I haven't heard any things about how it's dying, so at the very least, you know, I don't hear about them screwing it up. Fortnite continues to do pretty well. I know some people aren't liking its newest season that is bringing back the old map, but I think the concept of like showing how far you've come for a season that isn't going to be super long is not a big deal. Genshin keeps updating, and then people get mad about it because it's popular. I'm going to give it to Final Fantasy XIV because it's one of the few that I played. If I was to give some thoughts on it, over the past year, it's been doing its patch content that's post-Endwalker, and I think its story's been fantastic. Really, really enjoyable. I enjoyed the arc it went on. I know a lot of people got mad about it because they're like, this is a filler thing, because they've never heard of the concept of a follow-up story that is self-contained that continues the themes of the story of the thing you just played and enhances it. But I know that's a bit rough on people. I know some people have various issues with some of the other content, but I only play the main story, so I will vote for this with no guilt. Next category, please. Next up, we have Best Community Support. Recognize the game for outstanding community support, transparency, and responsiveness. Inclusion of social media activity, games updates, and patches. So basically games that continue to put out patches, let you know what's going on. Very transparent in that way. Some cool social media fun stuff. Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk 2077. Oh no, Final Fantasy XIV, and No Man's Sky. Oh no. This is not... brother, I am ill. This is the worst timed thing possible. You know they probably, like, sent in the votes for this, like, a month ago. But also community support's tough because there's not a lot of games you can put this kind of thing in, I feel like. There's not, like, a ton. But man, Destiny 2's recent expansion was not liked by a majority of players, has been the theme I've seen on it. Mainly because it's like, it was mainly biding time to set up the final shape, which is basically their big final battle expansion. But then they laid off a bunch of their staff, and things are going real bad, and they're internally delaying its final expansion and stuff, so this is not winning in any way. Definitely not. 14, I think, did pretty good on community support, it seems like. Where it's like, you know, they do fun social media stuff, but I guess that's about as much as I can say. It'd be like, seems fine. No Man's Sky, I don't know. Cyberpunk, transparency and response. I don't know how transparent they are. Honestly, I do recall certain higher ups at CD Projekt Red said, you know, we were just popular to hate on. Our original game was really good. So I'm going to say no on that one. Baldur's Gate 3 is going to get this for me. In terms of community support, I feel like they've been very transparent on, for example, why it wasn't on Xbox coming up at launch, and letting people know, like, we're going to try and get it out before the end of the year. Some of the funny bits they run over on Twitter and stuff like that. I think in terms of community support, I feel like this makes sense. So I'm just going to go ahead and lock my vote in for Baldur's Gate 3 and move on to the next category. What do we got? What are we feeling? Best indie game, independent game for outstanding creative and technical achievement in a game made outside the traditional publisher system. So we got Cocoon by Geometric Interactive and Annapurna, Dave the Diver from Mint Rocket, Dredge from Black Salt Games and Team 17, Sea of Stars from Sabotage Studio, and Viewfinder from Sad Owl Studios and Thunderful Publishing. I have played none of these except Sea of Stars, so this one will go quickly. I think Sea of Stars is pretty great. It's not a top shelf RPG for me, because I feel like it tries to be more like the classic style RPG to a detriment. When I say that, I tend to like RPGs a lot more that have a lot more character drama to them, have a lot more interpersonal relationships that continue to evolve over the course of the game. Here, it's a bit more comedy-based, and is a bit more in that classic way where they're kind of going through the plot. And I don't see a significant amount of change in the characters to really push it over the edge. But I do enjoy it. It's just, it doesn't have that secret sauce I'm looking for, but it is the only indie game I played here, and I'll put it up here. I thoroughly enjoyed it and recommend it to people, but if you're looking for, like, some of the peak style character moments, you're not really going to get it. It's one of those games that's more plot-focused than character-focused, which is what I feel like many classic RPGs kind of do. Additionally, I feel like it's a bit too trying to be funny a lot of the time, which I think lets down the writing a little bit. So we're going to move on, but I will give it Best Independent Game. Moving on to the next category, Best Debut Indie Game. For the best debut game created by a new independent studio: Cocoon, Dredge, Pizza Tower by Tour de Pizza, Venba from Visai Games, Viewfinder from Sad Owl Studios, and the other two were in the other one. I'm gonna be honest, I just want them to say Pizza Tower wins, and I haven't even played it. I just think it's funny, so we're just gonna vote to help contribute to that agenda. Best Mobile Game. For best game playable on a mobile device: Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis from Applebot and Square Enix, Hello Kitty Island Adventure from Sunblink Entertainment, Honkai Star Rail from HoYoverse, Monster Hunter Now from Niantic and Capcom, and Terra Nil from Free Lives and Netflix. Haven't played this. This is a Niantic game. That's about it. It's just another Pokemon Go-esque type of experience. I don't know what this is beyond Hello Kitty, but I played just a little bit of this. Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis. Based on other people that are continuing to play this, this is one of those insanely predatory gachas to a degree that it feels like it struggles to be approachable. My hope is that they try to maybe make this a little bit more sane. They are putting it on Steam, but the way it just is really aggressive kind of makes me very leery on whether or not it's going to be able to finish its vision for its story. I'm hoping that it can improve itself and kind of like look and see that maybe they're squeezing people out for their attempts to get money. Honkai Star Rail looks like a really good RPG. And I know many people that play it that don't put a cent in it and are having a great time with it and progressing through it. And it looks like a really solid RPG. So I'm just going to go ahead and throw a vote out for it. That and generally the fact of whenever I see people get overly aggressively mad at gacha, I think they're losers. So I think it'd be really great if this won. Alright, moving on to our next one. Best VR or AR game. Best experience playable in a virtual augmented reality, irrespective of platform. We have GT7 from Polyphony Digital, Horizon Call of the Mountain for Guerrilla Games, Fire Sprite and Sony Interactive Entertainment, Humanity from the LTD and Enhanced Games. They made a Tetris effect, people wondering. Resident Evil Village VR mode from Capcom, and Synapse from Endreams. I have not experienced VR or AR because I do not have any tech for it, so I can't say anything about it. Best action game. Best game in the action genre. Focused primarily on combat. We have Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon from Software and Bandai Namco, Dead Island 2 from Dambuster Studios and Deep Silver, Ghost Runner 2 from One More Level and 505, Hi-Fi Rush from Tango Gameworks and Bethesda Softworks, and Remnant 2 from Gunfire Games and Gearbox. Can't say anything on 3 of these. That leaves Armored Core 6 and Hi-Fi Rush. Armored Core 6 is fantastic. It's the first one of these that I played. Really, really satisfying. Mech combat, really good music. Overall, I really enjoyed the story. I did every single route. Picked up every new piece of tech. Conquered the arena. Did all the cool stuff in there. Thoroughly enjoyed it. It's probably going to be on my top 10 list. I have said on 2 occasions that Hi-Fi Rush is probably my favorite action game ever made. In terms of a pure action game, going through stages, getting stronger, unlocking new moves, stuff like Devil May Cry, Bayonetta, Metal Gear Rising, stuff you expect from Platinum, Capcom, games that try to do that type of thing. Other pure action games, like Final Fantasy 16 is one of those. Definitely not an RPG. Well, we'll see about other genres that appear in a minute. But Hi-Fi Rush, high marks. Fantastic. It does a really good job of this rhythm gameplay to actually teach me a lot of stuff that I generally was bad at in other action games. I feel like and just doing this within a rhythm game, really great. Very, very good. We're gonna go ahead and vote for that. I've given this like many high marks. I'd love to see it sweep. I feel like they really got something good there. I hope they're making another one. Best action adventure, otherwise known as the most generic category in all of video games, for the best action adventure game combining combat with traversal and puzzle solving. Okay, I guess that makes sense then. Sure. Alan Wake 2, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Okay, Alan Wake 2's out of my own contention since I haven't played it. Marvel Spider-Man 2 has really good action, really good, like, other segments. The science puzzles, I think, are way better in the new game. I've heard some people saying they're too easy, and I'm like, I kind of fucked up a couple of these. I don't know, I think it's pretty good. Resident Evil 4, fantastic, really good new puzzles in it that I enjoy, and the action is stellar. Star Wars Jedi Survivor feels really good too. I thoroughly enjoy its combat, but I feel like it doesn't have a lot of other things. It's not fleshed out in the way that I would say like a Zelda is necessarily, though I would find Zelda's combat to be not as good as the more traditional ones. Like the Breath of the Wild combat is a step down from, say, Twilight Princess, for example, or Skyward Sword on Switch. That's gonna make people upset, but I don't know. I did that final boss and kept parrying and slashing, and it felt amazing. I don't know. But I was gonna say best action adventure game, one where the thrill of just doing it just felt right. I'm gonna give it to Resident Evil 4. That's what I'm feeling at the moment. It's very hard between that, Spider-Man, and Jedi Survivor, but I think the blending of its puzzles, the knife parry, and the amount of runs I did, really good. I'm gonna have to go for it. Resident Evil 4 Remake. Top shelf in that type of category. Best RPG, for the best game design with rich player character customization and progression, including massively multiplayer experiences. Baldur's Gate 3 by Larian, Final Fantasy 16 by Square, Lies of P by Round 8 Studio and NeoWiz, Sea of Stars from Sabotage Studio, and Starfield from Bethesda Game Studios / Bethesda Softworks. Let's see here. Let's have the conversation. Final Fantasy 16 in my contention is not an RPG in the fucking slightest, and that is probably the biggest disappointment I have with that game. There's no party system in it. The game, it's just some AI dudes doing something. It doesn't even matter what's going on with them. Your level, you're just, the gear you make doesn't really mean anything in the game. There's not really any rewarding mechanical things that you unlock through side quests unless that has a plus on it. And it's just basic stuff of your health. You have more health items that you can hold at once, or your health items are more potent. There is less progression in that. You basically get cooldown abilities that you unlock as you play the game, but the enemies don't react any differently to them. Like, what you could use Phoenix and Titan and Garuda the whole game. And in fact, some of them have such good utility that you don't want to experiment outside them. I feel like they could have done a lot more to differentiate those various job abilities to really flesh it out. Whether it's giving them actual weaknesses and other things, but I feel like they couldn't do that because they wanted to make the game an action game. So it being an RPG bothers me. But it's not like I'm just picking on it. I got pissed that Monster Hunter gets put on here. It's not an RPG. It's not really an RPG, in my opinion. It's more of like an action game where you just get more like gear. But I guess if they're gonna call it rich player character customization, I guess Monster Hunter has rich player customization. So I'm gonna discount this and say no, I would not vote for FF16 in this area. Lies of P, really good with it. You're leveling, all Souls games generally do a pretty good job here, where you're leveling up various stats, going through different builds. But I feel like the system in this game of quartz, where you go into your P organ and get to pick various specific things and make deep choices about how your character what skills they want to unlock or what things they want to work on. Pretty good. Sea of Stars, I would say, weaker in terms of an RPG, in terms of like deep customization. You don't have a lot of skills in it either, so I would probably be a bit lower on that. Starfield's kind of a return to form for Bethesda RPGs after Fallout 4 was fucking terrible in terms of RPG systems, I feel like, especially because this dialogue system was really bad. That said, it does have some issues here. I found Starfield, the more I am away from it, I am way lower on it, generally because I feel like a lot of the things that I think make a Bethesda RPG special, the freedom of exploration and just random things happening, is significantly lowered in this game. I feel like you don't even feel special in any way in the game, which comes into fact of its late game plot revelations and its new game plus that kind of just completely hamper it. And generally, I feel like a lot of aspects of it are a lot weaker, even if it has some decent quest lines in it. Baldur's Gate 3 is probably the pick, I think. When I think of RPGs, I think of Japanese RPGs with some of the sensibilities they have in their general style, and I think of Western RPGs that are heavily choice-driven and allow you to do a lot of things. And I think Baldur's Gate 3 is probably the king of that, and right behind it I would probably put Lies of P personally. But Baldur's Gate 3 I think is going to just win that effortlessly. Best fighting game. Best game designed primarily around head-to-head combat. We got God of Rock by Modus Studios Brazil and Modus Games. Mortal Kombat 1 from NetherRealm Studios and WB Games. Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2 from Ludosity, Fair Play Labs, and Game Mill. Pocket Bravery from Statera Studio and P-Cube, and Street Fighter 6 from Capcom. God of Rock, I've not heard of. Nick All-Star Brawl 2 does look like a much better version of that game, but still has a bit of cheapness to it from what I saw, but still looks to be pretty solid enough. I see a lot of people pretty happy with this new version. Shame about the cut characters. Pocket Bravery I've not heard of, which brings us to MK1 and Street Fighter 6. Both games I put about 20 to 30 hours in, thoroughly enjoying their single-player content and all of this. So, when I think of a fighting game now, I think of it in a different way than many people might. Many people think that anything beyond online play, versus, and training mode is unnecessary. Those people like unfinished games and are fucking tools. They will be scammed by saying, I will pay $60 for nothing. You can throw a box with a ball in it and that's all I need. Well, unfortunately, I feel like fighting games should be at the exact same standard as any video game that is coming out, where it needs to be filled with things in it. Mortal Kombat 1 has always been... NetherRealm has usually been the king of this, whether you like how their fighting mechanics feel or not. They come with a lot of various content in it. Cinematic story modes, additional other things that you can do in them, arcade endings, training stuff, you know? But that story mode stays at the forefront. This recent one, I played through its entire invasion mode, I did every arcade ending, and I did the story mode. I think it was fantastic, and they did an amazing job with it. My vote's gonna end up going to Street Fighter 6. One of the best return to forms I've seen for a series maybe ever. Fantastic. For a series that feels like they brought things back with Street Fighter 4 and MVC 3, they kept kind of tripping over their own balls constantly. Street Fighter 5 was really rough, mainly because Capcom was in danger of going under, and they needed to get a game out. Sony was the brunt of the budget on that game initially, and MVCI was even in a much worse way. But around the time after Street Fighter 5, we saw Capcom get into the RE engine, start putting out hits. Resident Evil is back and better than ever. Monster Hunter is on a real console now and actually feels good to play. And you have, like, everything's popping off. They're delivering great experiences, and every single time you would be like, oh, DMC5, Monster Hunter World, Resident Evil, like 2 remake, Capcom, CapGod, and then you have that annoying person that you would want to shove in a locker and never hear again going, but the fighting game division. Well, now Street Fighter 6 delivered one of the highest reviewed games of the year, and fucking rules, dude. we're giving it top shelf. I think it's fantastic. It wins out. I enjoy Mortal Kombat, but I overall enjoy the mechanics of this one well. I think Street Fighter 6 deserves its flowers for being just generally so polished with some really, really cool characters, pushing the story forward, and for people to go, the fighting game story doesn't matter. Those are, once again, people that live in lockers. I'm sorry, I tend to respect stories when they are presented in video games. Being reductive on them, I think, is toxic to the industry and the art. Now, best family game. We have, for best game appropriate for family play, irrespective of genre or platform, we have Disney Illusion Island from Dlala Studios and Disney, Party Animals by Recreate Games, Pikmin 4 by Nintendo EPD, Sonic Superstars from Arzest, Sonic Team and Sega, and Super Mario Bros. Wonder from Nintendo EPD and Nintendo. The family category has always basically been the Nintendo category. It's a category where they put a bunch of Nintendo games in it and then one of them wins. A bit unfortunate, but a lot of people, there's just not a lot of really top shelf family games that come out very often. I did not play Disney Illusion Island at all, but it looked neat in the one direct I saw. Party Animals feels weird because it just looks like Gang Beasts but rebranded, and no one ever really talks about Gang Beasts anymore. I have not looked into this at all. It just seemed weird. Pikmin 4 I've heard nothing but praise for, but I haven't played any of them. And the two I played, Sonic Superstars and Mario Wonder. Sonic Superstars is a good game. It could have been a great game, but it's held back by a chunk of its music not sounding good, and most of its bosses being way too long, and it really disrupts the pace, and some of them I think are just bad. I think they've made some of them way too difficult, to a degree where I'm like, I don't think the second run's final boss is appropriate for family play. Mario Wonder is going to have to lock this in. It's one of the best games of the year, and it's finally a Mario game that kids can play that I feel like is on the level of its time, the way Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island was. So I'm gonna lock it in. Had to click it twice. Didn't want to work. We're on yet another loop of this song. This is a long video. My apologies. Best sim and strategy game. Best game focused on real-time or turn-based simulation or strategy gameplay, irrespective of platform. We got Advanced Wars, a 1+2 reboot camp from Way Forward. We got City Skylines 2 from Colossal Order and Paradox Interactive. Company Heroes 3 from Relic Entertainment and Sega. Fire Emblem Engage from Intelligent Systems and Nintendo. And Pikmin 4 from Nintendo EPD and Nintendo. I did not play Advanced Wars 1+2. I guess it kind of fell out because it kept continuously getting delayed because of real-world events, because that is a cursed series. I imagine this is maybe the last time we'll even see it. Unless Nintendo gets over the fact that war's going to continue to happen, maybe a strategy sim that's just cartoon tanks can live. We'll have to see how that goes. But it is kind of doubtful, given how they feel about things. They were willing to delay this forever, despite it being done. City Skylines 2, the only thing I heard about this is that it runs terribly on PC because they gave all the character models in the cities really detailed teeth. Company Heroes 3 sounds like a fake video game, but it's mainly because I don't know. And that brings it down to Fire Emblem Engage and Pikmin 4. Pikmin 4 I didn't play, so Engage is going to have to get it. I really liked the strategy elements of this. I think it's definitely a step up from Three Houses. But that's about the best I would give it. Beyond that and music, which I thought was really good in this, I feel like overall the game is like significantly worse than Three Houses for me. I felt like I couldn't connect with the characters nearly as much. I feel like the story was way too simple, and just generally I felt like I didn't have a connection with characters the way I did. I would constantly think about my issues with how characters acted in Three Houses or how much I connected with some of the other ones, and I have not thought about Fire Emblem Engage since the last time it appeared in front of me in a conversation or when I played it itself. But I will say, really solid gameplay-wise. But just in combat. The lack of anything to do in the hub, I felt like, really sucked. And I know a lot of people are like, well, Koei Tecmo made the last one, and it wasn't, wasn't a real Fire Emblem game. And I'm going to be honest, I am one of those who I got into that game later. Or I got in with Three Houses, and it's kind of that thing where I don't think that series is for me if they're not really going to go back to some of the things that really connected with, but I'll keep giving each new one a try. I will say that. Best sports and racing for best traditional and non-traditional sports and racing. We got EA Sports Football Club 24. This is because they lost the FIFA license. But it's still the same thing. Doesn't really matter. You don't really need that name. F123 from Codemasters. This was EA Vancouver for EA Sports FC. Forza Motorsport from Turn 10. Hot Wheels Unleashed 2 Turbocharged from Milestone and the Crew Motorfest. I will pass. I have not played any of these, I will say. Thoroughly enjoyed Hot Wheels Unleashed 1. I imagine it's more of the same. Best multiplayer. For outstanding online multiplayer gameplay and design, including co-op and massively multiplayer experiences, irrespective of game genre or platform. We got Baldur's Gate 3 by Larian Studios, Diablo 4 from Blizzard Entertainment, Party Animals by Recreate Games, Street Fighter 6 by Capcom, and Mario Bros. Wonder by Nintendo EPD and Nintendo itself. So, looking at it, these are all pretty good choices, except this one, I really need to get over the fact that of what's going on here with it seemingly just being gang beasts. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe it's just a thing of one of these was like niche, and this one's the one that got a bit more popular because it got featured on Xbox presentations over and over again. Who knows? But looking at it, Mario Wonder, really fantastic job of its multiplayer. I know a lot of people would prefer something that was like, oh, they're bumping into each other and stuff, and I think that's fun. I know a lot of people are really insecure about people liking that, going, no, it was stupid, and you got over it after an hour. It's like, no, I think the concept is quite fun. I would love the choice between them, honestly. But for the game that they're delivering, I think they included a really cool organic multiplayer where, since you're playing along with ghosts online, you can have these experiences where other players can wordlessly direct you towards secrets and stuff, and I think that's really special. And I think they did some really cool multiplayer stuff with that. The rest of it's kind of whatever, ultimately, but I think some of that kind of stuff is really interesting. I can't say anything in Diablo 4 as I've not played it. Street Fighter 6 is really good at multiplayer. It's got a good rollback netcode to it. Baldur's Gate 3, I haven't experienced it, but the fact that you can play that with other people and opt in for their choices and that kind of stuff is great. That being said, I heard that if someone joins your game, they're just there forever, and I think that's horrible. I think that's terrible. But if I had to pick between all of these, I guess I'm gonna give it to Mario Wonder, because I think that aspect of discovery is neat, where people can help each other out and communicate and that kind of thing, and I think that's pretty cool. So I'll just go ahead and mark my vote for that. Best adaptation, recognizing outstanding creative work that faithfully and authentically adapts a video game to another entertainment medium. We have Castlevania Nocturne from Powerhouse Animation and Netflix, Gran Turismo from PlayStation Productions and Sony Pictures, The Last of Us from PlayStation Productions and HBO, the Super Mario Bros. Movie from Illumination, Nintendo Universal Pictures, and Twisted Metal from PlayStation Productions and Peacock. Yeah, this is the moment where PlayStation really brought out some of the adaptation work that it was going into. I know a lot of people don't like adaptations in terms of like video games, though, where they're bad or whatever. I like to try and watch them when I can. This time I've only actually seen a couple of these. The Last of Us is going to win this one regardless of what happens. I've seen nothing but glowing praise on it, except for the part where it got a little gay and then people got really mad about it, despite the fact that Last of Us has always had that type of representation in it. I don't know how you're mad that a duck is quacking, but also, you know, I find people that get mad about that to also be very strange, but whatever. But of the things I saw the Mario movie and I saw Castlevania Nocturne. And in terms of trying to be in a work that faithfully and authentically adapts a video game to another entertainment medium, I know a lot of people are going to get mad that this is on here, because this is not a faithfully and authentically adaptation of Castlevania. Because in the end, they can't do the things that Rondo of Blood was going to do. Because this is following up the events of the first Castlevania seasons, where they already kind of dealt with certain things. This is not a story about Richter going full shonen to rescue his girlfriend, meet a character named Maria, and fight Dracula. That will then later eventually tee up a Symphony of the Night thing. It's just not going to be that. It can take some aspects of it, and it does take aspects of it, like his future girlfriend and gaining a connection there, or working with Maria and trying to layer in more stuff. Overall, I like Castlevania Nocturne. I think it's probably the weakest, maybe, of all the seasons for me, except maybe Season 1, because Season 1's so short. I'm also someone who generally liked the Castlevania seasons as they went on. I like their slow burn and their building character moments, but I know a lot of people didn't hit with that. I'm just wired differently. I don't know. I'm willing to wait things out and see where they go for the most part, and some people I know just kind of get mad. Also, the discussion on Castlevania Nocturne is really terrible because it race swapped multiple characters and focused on some other themes of like slavery and uprising and the rich and the poor and stuff. And people are like, why aren't they attacking vampires in a show where they regularly attack vampires? But wading through racism and grifters and bad discourse, I think it was solid, but a bit of a disappointment because unfortunately it did have a penchant for ruining aspects with a joke. I do not think Richter Belmont necessarily is conducive to the type of quippy stuff that Trevor Belmont had, mainly because he was already an established character in his fiction, and Trevor didn't have nearly as much as he was coming from a video game that came out, I think, in the 80s, right? It was the NES Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse, so I feel like that didn't work necessarily. And they also basically took one of the best moments of the show, then they put a joke in that basically ruined it for me. That being said, I will trust the plan and hope that Nocturne Season 2 improves upon it. So I guess I'm giving it to the Mario movie. I know a lot of people were like, it's not a real movie, and got really mad about it. And then people had this weird fighting where it's like, there's this discourse of if you liked it, you're blind to what good media is. I'm like, it was just a fun movie, Like, I'm sure it needed more time to breathe and, to flesh out its narrative a bit more instead of, hitting on a bunch of stuff. And I'm like, it's just fun, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it pretty thoroughly. I do think that in the future it'd be nice if it had less licensed music. Some of the best parts are when they actually have Mario renditions playing in it. I think it's pretty good. Castlevania Nocturne would have won this out for me if it just pushed a little further, but I'm expecting to see HBO enjoying its awards when it wins, because I've heard nothing but boundless gargantuan praise for that. Next up, most anticipated game, recognizing an unannounced game that has demonstrably illustrated potential to push the gaming medium forward. I don't know necessarily pushing the gaming medium forward necessarily. I don't really see that for any of these games. But in terms of awesome games that you need in your hands, I can see it. Our nominees are Final Fantasy VII Rebirth from Square Enix, Hades 2 from Supergiant Games, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth from Ryugagotoku Studio, or RGG Studio, makes it way easier for us Westerners, and Sega, Star Wars Outlaws from Massive Entertainment and Ubisoft, and Tekken 8 from Bandai Namco and Eureka. I'm decently excited for Star Wars Outlaws. I'm interested in how that's going to go. I play most big Ubisoft releases, because we usually partner up. They send me stuff, and then I'll usually stream it and give my general thoughts, and I tend to enjoy it. I tend to enjoy a little bit of everything genre-wise. I know some people hate AAA games. I know some people hate generic open world stuff. I can stick my toe in that kind of thing pretty regular. Like, I played Assassin's Creed Mirage last month and enjoyed it to a degree. We have Tekken 8, which I am actually going to get because I think the final character that they added, Reina, is one, hits everything I'm looking for in a character. Has some purple in there, is very attractive, but most importantly, seems very evil. which is very good. I think is pretty good. This new Tekken game looks great. I would say that the online seems to be a bit of a concern. I'm hoping that they can iron that out before release hype, and I'm gonna hold out hope that they do, and if they don't, that's gonna be unfortunate. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, I can't say I'm hyper excited for, but I'm gonna be playing Yakuza 7, which is the previous game, before this soon, so that I can get excited for it. But right now, it's another one of those, and it looks cool, but I don't have something that's pulling me into it. However, hey look, it's my two most anticipated games right next to each other. I think the only other thing you could put here for me that would you know, butter my biscuit would be Persona 3 Reload, but I think it still loses to both of these. Hades is my favorite roguelike ever, and one of my favorite games. Really fantastic. I was very worried that studio was going to be, and not to be derogatory, too artsy and decide to do something entirely different that maybe I wouldn't be into. Instead, they're like, this was our most successful game ever. I guess we can throw another hat into the ring. We've seen neither hide nor hair of Hades 2 since the last Game Awards. I'm hoping to see a trailer of some stuff here. Please, I need to know more about this game. Very excited for it. And then FF7 Rebirth, which is probably going to take my thing here. It's everything I want in a Final Fantasy game. I don't want to make it come off like I'm just going to bully FF16 with it, but, you know, it was offering experience that isn't really conducive to what I look for FF, which here is a deep party system, deep customization of the characters, RPG elements, big climactic CG cutscenes, really epic boss fights, paired with numerous mini games that you can do across the world. It looks like the promise of FF15 with the team that I specifically really love behind it. And I'm really excited. I hope it hits the way I want it to in terms of its story and everything else. We will see. I'm usually a plan truster. Game looks great. Can't wait for February when it drops. That edges it out just barely over Hades 2, a game that I will likely spend a good couple hundred hours in as well. Gonna give this to Rebirth. Here's hoping it takes the crown at the Game Awards when it shows a trailer for it. And maybe drops a demo. And I will scream. Content Creator of the Year. First streamer content creator has made an important and positive impact on the community in 2023. People like to make fun of this because a good few times whenever one of these people ends up winning, something bad happens. But we got Iron Mouse, People Make Games, Quackity, Spreen, and Cypher PK. Also, a lot of time when people bust out the names of these, nobody knows who they are. like the internet is massive. It's always hard to tell. I've heard the name Quackity. I've seen Iron Mouse before. I want this one to win, not because I don't know about them. I just feel like VTuber should win one of these. And it's been crazy that Content Creator of the Year has not included VTubers at all for the past few years, given that they've been quite explosive. But I'm gonna abstain. I don't truly know any of them. But that's my take is I think the VTuber should win. Wait a minute. I forgot this gives me an influence. I'll vote for this, and if something bad's about them, just pretend I'm ignorant. Don't give me shit. I don't know. Best esports game. For a game that's delivered the best overall esports experience to players, inclusive of tournaments, community support, and all that stuff. Counter-Strike, Dota, League of Legends, PUBG. Oh shit, where am I going? Best esports athlete. We've got, you know, the best athlete in an esports game. We got Faker, Zywoo, Demon One, Hydra, Ruler, Imperial Hall. None of these, are for a fighting game, which is the only esport I track. So we're moving on. Best esports team. Recognizing a specific esports team, not a full org, judged for the most outstanding for performance and conduct in 2023. I am hoping every one of these categories is in the pre-show or a thing where they go, and these are the winners, bop, 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 bop. Do not give extended airtime to esports, please. I am begging you. Evil Geniuses, Fnatic, Gaiman Gladiators, or I assume that's Gaiman? Unless they wanted to be Gaiman, but they wrote it differently. JD Gaming and Team Vitality. Sorry, not fighting games. Can't say I recognize any of them. Best esports coach. Most outstanding performance and conduct. There's no coaches in fighting games to my degree, so Got nothing on here. We got Potters on a Gunba. And Hom. Alright, moving on. Best esports event. The 2023 League of Legends World Championships, the Worlds. Blast TV Paris Major. EVO. The International Dota 2. And Valorant Champions. I'm going to vote for EVO. We did an entire stream watching through basically 95% because I woke up a little late of Final Sunday, and it was such a magical experience that we will absolutely be doing again next year. Really enjoyed doing that. Insane top 8s. It was incredible. Incredible. Keep going. You reached the edge. Well, I guess we are out of here. We have casted our votes and kind of just gone into all of them. Overall, I think the nominees here made a lot of sense here. I feel bad about bullying FF16 a bit because I do enjoy it, but it is one of those years where everything was so competitive to such a large degree that a game being good to great is somehow not good enough in a way, because there's so many things that are like top shelf stellar. Some people say it's like this is the best, this is like a 2017 year. I feel like this easily outpaces a year like 2017. I would say it's like something that could approach 1998, where games just came out that were so defining or fantastic. It's going to be really tough for me to make my top 10, which I'm going to try and do some sort of video of probably right at the end of the year, probably like on the 31st of December. Or sometime in December, once I get things locked in. I still gotta play Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. We still gotta dig into that. If I was to say anything that's a bit unfortunate is I didn't see a lot of noms for Armored Core 6 Beyond Action, which is unfortunate because I need Hi-Fi Rush to win that one. Absolutely. Overall, I think the nominees here are pretty solid. I'm really looking forward to the show. Make sure to hang out with me on December 7th, not at the Peacock Theater, but at KZXcellent.live or twitch.tv/KZXcellent. I will be going in and reacting to all of the highlights of the show along with the crew, and we'll see all the latest game reveals and excitement. I know a lot of people like to be cynical about the Game Awards and stuff like that, or get mad at Jeff because it's like, be like, will he respond to this certain thing? My personal favorite anecdote, because we're going to bury it in a video that you committed an hour and 17 minutes of listening to or watching. I remember when there was like some drama happening with, I think it might have been the Activision stuff when it was initially happening. They're like, is he not going to address this thing? And I can't believe he's not addressing this. I saw a lot of my performative people that I follow quote tweet that, and then he put out a statement saying he would do exactly what they wanted, and then none of them retweeted or quote tweeted that, almost as if they just wanted the catharsis of saying something and shooting at someone, but didn't necessarily want to but now that they're getting what they want, it's not that. A similar thing is happening here. I will say this here, and as I've said something a little bit, incendiary to that type of person. I think the Game Awards should do two things. I think they should have at least a moment to address the fact that this year had a inexcusable amount of layoffs as a result of so many studios taking advantage of COVID and deciding that because COVID is happening, we should hire a lot and make a lot of money, and not having the foresight to realize that that's going to have to end soon, and that's going to lead to collateral damage in that people's jobs are going to be displaced. And I think they should also, in a similar way that they highlighted the crisis, the unfortunate things happening in Ukraine, they need to highlight what's going on right now when it comes to Israel and Palestine. I know that might be difficult. I heard the Golden Joysticks banned people from talking about it. I really hope that doesn't happen here, where there are powers that be that are trying to prevent that type of thing. I think it should be highlighted in some way. We can mix that in there. I'm not going to huff and puff and do rants on Twitter in an attempt to get retweets about how Jeff Keighley did not highlight the event. But I feel like it would be nice if that was highlighted. It's one of those things where I'll be disappointed that if it doesn't happen, but I'm not going to be dramatic about it in the end, Though, to be fair, I feel like when a lot of people are that, like, upset of this type of show not being capable of doing that type of thing, it almost feels like, why are you watching that type of show if you don't have that expectation of it? But, you know, people are people. Everyone's different. Overall, I'm excited for the show. I've always respected what Jeff tries to put forward here in trying to build a good show, and I feel like this was a stellar year for video games. Here's hoping in 24 days they give us a show that has awesome reveals in it, and the right people win. We'll see how that goes. If you enjoyed this, like it and check out the stream. All that stuff. Anyway, hope you liked this, and yeah, maybe I'll try and do traditional videos in the future whenever it strikes me. That's gonna do it here, though. Bye-bye, everyone.